The Great Novoselka has been fully cleared. Russian armed forces immediately launched a powerful offensive towards the Dnipro region. Good day, dear friends. You are on the Ruslan Belov channel. As always, we continue to analyze the situation on the front line daily. Before we begin, I would sincerely like to ask you to subscribe to the channel. Your subscription helps support its growth. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed. Well, the battles for the Great Novoselka have come to an end. For Ukraine, this settlement, a small town, is a loss, but we'll talk more about that in detail today. Now let's talk about the situation in the Kursk region. We haven't discussed it for a while. After that, we'll move on to the developments around the Great Novoselka and other parts of the front. Let's open the map. Situation in the Kursk region. Not much has happened here recently, but there is one significant development. It took place near Nizhny Klin. Parallel to it, there was a breakthrough towards Sverdlivkovo. Why is this important? Firstly, the speed and distance of the breakthrough are notable. A 3-kilometer advance in the Kursk region is rare, unlike the main front, where such breakthroughs are more frequent. Typically, even advancing 1 kilometer here is a challenge, but now it's 3 kilometers at once. What's even more important is the village of Sverdlivkovo itself. As some Telegram channels claimed, Sverdlivkovo has supposedly come under Russian control. But there's no need to rush. Battles for the village haven't started yet. Russian forces are positioned on the northern outskirts, bringing up reinforcements and preparing for an assault. I'll report immediately in my Telegram channel when it begins. Sverdlivkovo isn't just another village. Look at the map. A straight road leads from it directly to Sudzha. After taking Sverdlivkovo, there would be no obstacles along the road and fields up to Zalesniki. Let's measure this. About 8 kilometers of operational space, which is a significant distance for the Kursk region. Understanding this, Ukrainian command is urgently deploying reserves to Sverdlivkovo to delay the battles there as much as possible. However, the fighting will undoubtedly be fierce. Developments elsewhere. In the areas of Nikolskoe and Viktorovka, Russian forces managed to deploy infantry and establish positions on the outskirts of these villages. However, they haven't fully taken control. Similarly, the Ukrainian armed forces haven't been able to dislodge Russian forces from Pogrebki. Yesterday, the Ukrainian forces launched a counterattack with significant strength, but it failed against Russian defenses. The result for Ukraine was the loss of 6 armored vehicles. Meanwhile, the Russian army also faces challenges. South of Sudzha, near Makhnovka, Ukrainian attacks in January failed disastrously, and Russian forces almost completely captured Makhnovka. Only the northern outskirts remained under Ukrainian control. However, the Russians couldn't consolidate their gains, and now Makhnovka is under Ukrainian control again. In the west, near Kurilovka, Russian advancements continue. The capture of Sverdlivkovo would make the situation in Sudzha catastrophic for the Ukrainian side. Great Novoselka, the main front line. Let's move to the situation around the Great Novoselka, which remains the most critical part of the front. For the Ukrainian armed forces, the loss of the Great Novoselka is a fact. They no longer control anything there. As of last evening, the entire southern part of the town came under Russian control. Russian fighters raised their flag in 3 locations, 2 near the center and 1 in the southern part. The southern part was completely surrounded, and Ukrainian forces were given the opportunity to withdraw through a humanitarian corridor along Azovskaya Street toward the village of Blagodatnoye. Some surrendered, while others did not. As a result, the Ukrainian forces lost nearly 300 soldiers in the southern part of the town alone. Half were killed, while the rest were either wounded or surrendered. By yesterday evening and overnight, battles continued in the remaining areas of the Great Novoselka. It's estimated that up to 500 Ukrainian soldiers were still there. As of this morning, Russian forces have reportedly taken control of the northern, eastern, and central parts of the town, up to Privolny Lane. Final clearing operations are ongoing in the northwestern outskirts of the town. Summing up, Russian forces began their assault on the settlement on January 18th and concluded it by January 26th. It took 9 days to capture a well-fortified urban-type settlement, which is over twice the size of Sudzha, or roughly the same size as the city of Cerebrovo. It's worth noting that Ukrainian forces had held their defensive positions here for 3 years. However, a well-planned and well-executed operation dismantled this defense in just 9 days. The operation to capture the Great Novoselka was overseen by Lieutenant General Andrei Ivanayev, commander of the Vostok Group, and Major General Igor Kuzmenkov, commander of the 127th Motor Rifle Division. Other advancements. Moving to another area, Russian forces have significantly increased their pace of advance. Here, they achieved a breakthrough of 3 kilometers and managed not only to enter, but also to secure positions on the northern and eastern outskirts of the village. Ukrainian forces attempted to halt the Russian assault groups by dropping grenades from drones, resulting in casualties and injuries. However, these efforts were unsuccessful, as Russian forces captured several buildings in 2 sectors, north and east. Thus, it can be confirmed that battles for Andreevka have commenced, as have battles for Dakhnoye. In Dakhnoye, Russian forces entered the village from the eastern and northern sides. According to Ukrainian reports, their garrison in the village is being struck by drones and artillery. They have many severely wounded soldiers, yet Ukrainian command is denying evacuation and ordering them to hold Dakhnoye as long as possible. Currently, more than half of the village is already under Russian control. Tetk Konstantinovka. Direction as of January 26th. In Tetk, the battles are nearing their end. Perhaps tomorrow or the day after, the Tetk mine, half of which is already occupied by Russian forces and whose garrison is surrounded from 3 sides, will fall. This will mark the end of the battle for Tetk and the beginning of the battle for Konstantinovka. In line with this progression, Russian forces fully captured the village of Krimskoye yesterday and are now advancing toward Delivka. Meanwhile, to the north, Russian forces are attempting to break through the heights near Stupochki. Ukrainian forces are holding their ground firmly there. However, a breakthrough is likely once Russian forces successfully conclude the battle for Chasov Yar, which would free up forces and allow for more advantageous positions for future assaults. Mirnograd-Tetk direction as of January 26th. On this front, Russian forces are advancing from Vozdvijenka westward, northward, and eastward. Vozdvijenka has essentially become a base for Russian forces to accumulate troops for attacks, enabling them to steadily increase pressure on Ukrainian lines. The next critical objectives for Russian forces will be the villages of Yelizavetovka and Tarasovka. These are relatively large settlements for the area, and their control, especially in winter, is essential for maintaining Ukrainian frontline stability. Capturing these villages will pave the way for further advances. The next significant village to the north, after Tarasovka, will be Novoelenovka. Its loss would put Ukrainian forces between the Pokrovsk and Tetk agglomerations in a catastrophic position. Additionally, Russian forces conducted successful attacks northeast of Sukhaya Balka yesterday. With Ukrainian defenses in Tetk collapsing, more on this in the next report, the western front of the city is beginning to shift, posing a serious threat to Ukrainian forces. The Vatrudida, interfluve of the Solyonaya and Volkhya rivers as of January 26th, Cerebrovo. Yesterday, Russian forces, after securing the area around Novoandreevka, launched a strong offensive on the Ukrainian garrison in Cerebrovo. They reached the northern outskirts of the village yesterday, and its assault is expected today or tomorrow. Cerebrovo is effectively encircled from 3 sides, and attacks could come from the north, east, and south. If Russian forces continue advancing southward at this pace, Ukrainian forces in Alexeyevka will soon face a rear attack. As mentioned in the previous material, this will create a catastrophic situation for the entire Novopavlovka front of the Ukrainian armed forces. Additionally, Russian forces are completing the clearance of Nadivka and have intensified pressure on Uspinovka and Novoalexandrovka. Novopavlovka direction. As of the evening of January 26th, current situation. Yesterday, Russian forces began the assault on Andreevka, a key village on the northern bank of the Volkhya River. The loss of Andreevka would significantly complicate the situation for UAF in the vicinity of Ulakli and Constantinople. Stubborn battles also continue in Dakhnoye, where Russian forces have secured positions in the eastern, northern, and southern parts of the village. All of this is exacerbated by the rapid collapse of UAF defenses in the area of Velikaya Novoselka, And, as we'll see in the next material, serious problems in UAF defenses slightly further north in the Cerebrovo area. As a result, the UAF grouping on the Volchia River could soon face a deep encirclement, including the village of Bogatyr. This threatens catastrophic consequences for the UAF's Novopavlovka front. Let's hope everything works out for us here. Pokrovsk direction. As discussed yesterday, no significant changes have occurred in the Pokrovsk direction over the past 24 hours. That concludes the update on the front lines for today. Wishing you a pleasant weekend.